Welcome back to another episode of Ride Like a Local. This week we're at the C.A.V gathering in Abbotsford, BC.
Okay.
I'm being joined right now by Earle Eastman, lovingly known as Grizz, or Grizzly, and he is the National President of the Canadian Army Veterans Motorcycle Units here in Canada. Grizz, tell people about the ride you took to get out here.
Well, I left on the 19th of July and scooted up, and I spent some time with my granddaughter, brand new, and a couple of days with my grandsons, and I scooted across the border in Sault Ste. Marie, Michigan, and started my journey out west.
Now, the C.A.V gathering, what was it about this particular gathering that you decided you needed to come here?
Well, this is my first year as in the position of National President, and it's very important to come out and make sure that the team out here understands that we support every initiative that they do, and that they have our backing completely for doing all the great charitable work they do.
And these guys out here in the West, they do an enormous amount, especially here in the province of BC. Let's talk about a few of the initiatives that they've taken.
Yeah, the big one that stands out to start with was the Highway of Heroes, yeah, which actually triggered the rest of the nation to have a Highway of Heroes program, and C.A.V was at the first and foremost. C.A.V being the mainstay. So I think the only province left is Newfoundland, and what I've heard just the other day actually that they've had the section of highway that they're going to name. It's going to be named next year.
You know, it's amazing what happens when you take a small group of very thoughtful, determined people. They can move mountains.
Sure they can. And you know, there's a lot of focus on helping veterans. Our government tries their hardest to to weigh in and do what they can, but it's the peer support from supporters, veterans themselves, that actually triggers this initiative along and helps others along the way.
I think it's really important that we ourselves, I'm a supporter, but I have PTSD. I think it's really important that we as individuals want to help ourselves first. I think everything comes from that desire.
Yeah, that's the part of the magic, if you want to call it that, is we're willing to give and we're willing to jump on board and help others. But you're right, you know, we're also helping ourselves along the way as well.
And that's, I think, the beauty of being part of an organization like this is, if I'm not feeling strong today, I can phone you or I can phone someone else and I can say, help. And vice versa. They know that when they're not feeling strong, there's someone else willing to be on the other end of that phone or to reach out a hand.
Oh, by all means. And not only that, too, but now we actually got a place at the table with Veterans Affairs.
Yes.
And we're the only motorcycle riding club that's got that initiative going. We sit equal to the Legion at the Veterans Affairs Summit, and we have a say, and they respect our say. Because we are veterans and supporters that actually are taking a multitude of interest into making sure that everybody gets helped along the way.
From a national perspective, 1 C.A.V, 2 C.A.V, and 3 C.A.V, I mean, there's, what, 4,000 members in C.A.V?
Well, it fluctuates from year to year to year, and there's so many veterans organizational organizations that actually that are popping up. People are trying to do their own strive, they're trying to do their own thing, with all good intent along the way. So our membership fluctuates year after year. We lose people, we gain people. We gain people that we lost before. So I mean, to nail it down, I think this year we're around the 1,200, 1,300 member mark from coast to coast. But next year, I mean, again, we've seen it go as high as 6,000, 7,000 people.
Yes, we have.
And so it's quite the monster to keep the genie in the bag sometimes, but it keeps us busy.
And you guys, I mean, I've been blessed to ride with a lot of my brothers and sisters from the East Coast, and I've experienced what I call C.A.V. hospitality in stellar fashion. Why do you think it is that these people, these members, are so engaged? What do you think it is about C.A.V. members that makes them so special?
They want to help. They just want to help. And it's it's really hard to explain. I mean, they'll take anybody in. They'll help anybody along the way, and it's all about the support. You know, they want to support each other. So it's a strong, very strong. If a governmental agency could grab upon some of this strength, a lot of things would go a lot easier.
I do agree with you. I think that that's very much the case. As this is your first year as national president, what to you has been the most rewarding aspect so far of being in that position? Because it can't be easy.
Well, it's never easy because, I mean, we're going from coast to coast and everybody's doing fantastic work. And to pick one thing that says, you know, this is outstanding, you just can't do it.
But for you as an individual member, I mean, yes, you're the national president, but you're also an individual member. And this work is not easy work that you've taken on as national president, but there's got to be a reward in it. What is that reward to you?
Well, the big one is helping out Silver Cross families. You see the Basins who's given up so much here. The loss of a son is not easy. We understand that completely. Being a vet myself in Afghan war, you know, we lost 22 guys on my tour, and most of them I knew. So to see the families of those that sacrificed, you know, their children for the Afghan conflict, we'll say, is that to watch them gain this family, gain the family of C.A.V., gain the family of these people who are willing to support them in their time of need as well. And when we come out of the woodwork like this, they're flabbergasted. They sit there and say, "Oh my God, you know, somebody really cares," and that's rewarding.
I can only imagine. I've met a number of our Silver Cross families, and every time you see them, the pain and the love are both present in their faces. And we witnessed that again today with the Masons when they were presented with a few gifts of thanks for using their property for the loss of their son. It's so poignant, it's so tangible. The air is just so emotionally charged.
Yeah, and what Barry has done here, Barry Drews of 3rd C.A.V. Rome unit, he's actually got 12 Silver Cross families to actually bond together. So now they're their own support unit. They support themselves in drawing off their peers on the same tragedy that they experienced. So they got something in common. And to have C.A.V. put that together, that's fantastic.
It is a very sweet feeling to know that you've made a difference somewhere. And I want to thank you for the work you do for all of the members of C.A.V. because without strong leadership, none of this really works.
Yeah, we've definitely had our days on making sure that, like I say, keep the genie in the bottle and keep it motivated to go forward. It's just guidance. Guys need guidance, or guys, girls, whatever. They need the guidance, and we try to present that and move it forward.
I'll say that you do more than try. You actually accomplish a hell of a lot. Thank you for everything you do, Grizz.
Thank you too, Betty.
All righty.
Thanks.
Canada's most rider-friendly community. Where is it? Is it Carman? Marystown? Viking? Where in this vast land is Canada's most rider-friendly community? Help us discover that special community at riderfriendlycontest.ca. Growing communities one idea at a time is Community Futures Grand Prairie and Region, providing business planning, cash flows, market research, and business loans. Visit www.cfofgp.com to see how we can help you.
With me right now is Brian Archer from the Citadel Canine Society, and they raise PTSD service dogs. Brian, tell me a little bit about Citadel Canine Society and the work you do.
Well, thanks. First of all, it's really a pleasure to be given the opportunity to explain a little bit of it. We're an incorporated society. That was one of the very first things we did. We legally incorporated ourselves. And about a year later, we applied for CRA registration. That took another 3 or 4 months. So about a year and a half just to get the CRA status. So we're incorporated. We're a tax receiving operation, volunteer-based. We started in Vancouver basically 3 years ago, 3 summers ago. 3 springs ago, we brought our first draft of dogs in, and we're now we're getting into the mid-40s in terms of dogs either delivered or dogs on the go. So we did the right things at the beginning in terms of building the foundation. I've been involved in creating or organizing other operations like this, and you've got to lay the foundation, otherwise you get into trouble.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Why PTSD service dogs? Why was it important to you to start producing dogs that could help people with PTSD?
Yeah. Well, that actually is probably the most important and powerful question I've ever been asked as it relates to Citadel. Is I know of 2 individuals that are very close to me. Both of them out here in the Lower Mainland. One's a police officer and one's a CF veteran. They're both young and they both really had bumpy rides. And I noticed that, and it really bothered me. I'm not a veteran, but I've been very active in veterans activities with Honor House, with Equitas Society, the CFLC. So I'm familiar with what they're dealing with, but those 2 incidents particularly hit home. They weren't dramatic to the S word, but they were. It was very concerning for me. I also really happen to be a dog lover. I mean, I just love dogs. Dogs are magic. Anybody that doesn't know that, I really feel sorry for, because they're missing out on a huge part of the journey of life. Dogs are really incredible, and a dog helped me out when I was having a bumpy ride a long time ago, and so it just all sort of came together. And then once I got the idea, I started talking to some people we'd met through the Equitas journey, OSIS counselors, yeah, and really talked to them. This is how it all happened, and a fellow in Alberta, 2 guys here in British Columbia, and there was a determination that yeah, this would work. And they were the ones actually that once we made the decision and like we got incorporated, I said, okay, I'm gonna have to start finding money. I'm gonna have to start making this happen. And then I said, yeah, it's a go. We're going. We're looking for 4 dogs, and they referred our first 4, 3 military veterans and an RCMP officer in our first draft, and that was how we got started. And it's just been one lift after another ever since.
The dogs themselves, what do you look for in a dog when you want to train it to work with someone who has PTSD?
There's 3 absolute critical characteristics. One is temperament. That's a no-brainer, but it's painfully obvious and has to be paid attention to. It has to be a nice dog. It has to be a nice dog because of public access issues. The second thing, it's got to be smart, and it's got to be responsively smart. Dogs are crafty creatures. They are sneaky buggers, and they'll do as little as they can for as much as they can get away with. And I love them because of it. And here comes a big one right now. He's just sort of ambling by a big Roddy, and she just runs this place. The second thing, so it's first is temperament. Secondly, they got to be smart, and they got to be trainably smart. The third thing is appearance, and that is something that is important because the public, rightly or wrongly, they get a vote. And if you take a great big mean-looking dog into a restaurant, the public's going to react. And if you take a nice-looking, happy, dog, the public will react and respond in a different manner. It may not be fair, it may not, but then, that's the way it goes. I mean, the public does get a right to their reaction, so we do watch for appearance. We're not being judgmental. There's no bias involved. It's just, it's got to be what it's got to be. You can imagine on an airplane or in a small coffee shop, taking in a great big dog. I mean, oh dear. So those are the three key things. And once we get rolling, there's no guarantees. And it can be a dog we start. We have started dogs that work with dogs that belong to veterans, and some of them have worked out really well. But in each case, no guarantees. The dog's got to have it. The dog's got to be able to get it. And that's why you might have wondered, well, how come he doesn't know how many dogs they got in the program? Because we really don't know how many are going to make it. We've got 2 or 3 right now. They may not. We're not sure. That's the way it is. We're dealing with living creatures.
Well, and dogs wash out. Some just aren't cut out to be a service dog of any nature, and some aren't suited to PTSD, but might be better suited to people with epilepsy or some other disease that also requires a service animal.
Yeah, that's very true. There's been a lot of work done with guide dogs, obviously. They've blazed the trail. They are the pathfinders for all service dogs in society. More recently, by that I mean 10, 20, and 30 years ago, some medical assistance dogs for autism. There's some considerable work been done with epilepsy. Very complicated, and it's also very challenging both for the recipient of the dog and for the dog himself. PTSD is all new territory. And anybody that says, and we've been doing this for 3 years, that sounds like it's not very long, but in the PTSD world, that's quite a while. But anybody that says, oh, we're experts in PTSD dogs, they're kind of winging it a bit. Nobody was an expert 3 years ago. Nobody knew what was really going on, how the dogs were going to be. We knew they would work, we knew they'd be positive, we knew it would do well, but nobody could say with definitive certainty that this is how they work and this is what they will do. Because each pairing is unique. If you or I or that gentleman over there had a service dog, a PTSD service dog, between the two of us, the two of you, they're going to sort out what needs to be done and what doesn't need to be done. Some people have sleep issues. Some people are afraid to get outside. Some people may have, anxiety attacks. Dog's going to figure those things out. They can be taught. You can steer the dog in the right direction, but the dog and the person will learn together. Dogs feel very, very uncomfortable. It makes them concerned when their partner is in bad shape. And so they will do something. They will intervene. They will react. They will respond. That's part of the magic of the PTSD therapy, if you will. You can train the dogs to a lot of things, but the ultimate connection is between the two of them. And that's why we're never in a rush to certify a dog. We watch carefully. We won't pair a dog with we've been burned twice in this program where things haven't gone well. And in both cases it was we didn't have local training support right in the community. Like we're talking 5 to 15 minutes away from where the dog and the partner are. Right. You have to have that. Otherwise it's wrong. It's irresponsible. It's like providing a major open heart surgery to a human being and then putting them on a plane and flying them to Tule or to Alert, where there's no doctors around. Right. I mean, you have to have people close by. So what we say there is that the dog and the person together, they develop that bond, and it can take 2 months, it can take a year. And that's kind of cool. So we're never in a rush to certify, and just as long as everybody's doing, as long as it's moving in the right direction, we're cool, we're happy.
So explain to my audience the process. You choose a dog, or a dog comes into your program, you assess this dog, you pair this dog after you've done some training. What happens once the dog and the individual are paired 3 months down the road, 6 months down the road, a year down the road? How do you keep in contact with these people? I mean, there has to be a process here.
Oh yeah. We have. There's actually 2 parallel streams. There's in our intake process. Part of it is the referral process, where the candidates, that's what we call them, are being referred to us by OSIS or by. We have 4 files right now that are direct referrals from Veterans Affairs case managers that are active. That we are working those like they're employees of Veterans Affairs Canada, OSI, OSIS have been their people. So that's the candidate side. The dog side, we have 2 phases. One we call basic training, and that's where the dog has to learn a whole bunch of basic things to be a really good dog. It's not so much the PTSD work, with one exception. and that's the mobility, the public access issues. So that's where we're producing and guaranteeing that the dog will be a low impact, zero drama, no prey drive, wonderful dog that we feel comfortable can go into a Tim Hortons or a McDonald's or into a skating rink and watch a junior hockey game or go to the Grey Cup. You know what I mean? The dog isn't going to be a problem. The basic training can take a couple months. It can take up to 6 months. We'll know very soon whether the dog's a good candidate or not. You can tell within 2 to 3 months. Yeah, it's going to be okay. So that's that. And while this is happening, we're also assessing all of the obedience issues, et cetera, prey drive, that's a deal breaker, that's a fail. They've got to be able to manage their prey drive desires. And they also do a lot of public access work during the basic training program. And we can tailor that to where the dog's going to go. Once we've made a decision, we're sort of got an earmark for a particular recipient. We had one young lady, and she actually is working a lot with children, and she rides a lot of buses, including school buses. So we had that dog. That dog was run through Saskatoon training, and that dog is riding Saskatoon school buses for a couple months, you know, just so it's not the bus, it's getting up and down those steep stairs. I mean, you got to teach the dog how to do that, you know, so the dog feels comfortable. So that's the public access work. The follow-on is where the real progress begins. We'll pair the dog with the recipient, and as I say, we have a trainer immediately close by. There's work involved, there's homework involved, and it can take 2, 3, 4 months up to a year to get the dog to where it's ready to be tested. And basically, you're testing the dog and the partner together as a pair. And it's an extensive test. We use the ADI, Assistance Dogs International protocol. Plus, we pay very close attention to what the guide dog programs test for, not the moving people around, but all the rest of it. You know,
right.
Yeah. So it's like, you know, if the nice thing about it is the dog's wearing an in-training tab. So if the dog fails, no, it's not the end of the world. Right. It just means you got to just work another 2 months or 3 months or whatever. And I will tell you right now, when our recipients figure that out, it's amazing. Their stress level just plummeted because they didn't have to worry about that part of the deal anymore. Mm-hmm. True, their dog isn't an official, certified, illegal, rock'em sock'em service dog, but it is a dog in training, and in 99.683% of the time, the dog can go pretty well anywhere, including we have those kinds of dogs on airplanes. So that's kind of all of a sudden, hey, this is cool. So the follow-on is very, very important, and that's also where the dog's learning how to be with the person, how to help the person with what they present as stress. It's magical, and it's something that you or I or our trainers, we can try to help facilitate, but the dog and the person together figure it out.
Right.
That's where it all happens.
So let's say 2-3 years after they've been paired successfully, you know they're going to work together well. What do you guys do with those people? Do you revisit their training? Do you go and see how they're handling each other? What's the situation?
And that's, right now we're starting this fall. In fact, we're doing some 1 1/4 year reviews. Not 3 years, but 1 1/4. They should be taking a look at 1 1/4, 1.5 years to see what's going on. The nice thing about it is we got the old Mark 1 eyeball on the deal. With those trainers close by, there's work involved, there's checklists. We've set up for certain situations, they actually have to do an activity log. They have to actually log what they're doing. So we know what's going on, and if the people aren't doing it, if the recipients aren't doing the work, first of all, you can tell because the dog isn't doing what it's supposed to. You can't fudge that. But also you can tell that the person is not doing the work. So back to the review. We're monitoring all the time. We won't place a dog unless we've got a person close by. We just did a dog in Montreal 6 weeks ago. It's our first dog in the Montreal region. Before we did anything, we found a trainer. You know, because like we had the dog, we had the recipient, we had everything set up, but we weren't going to move the dog until we had a person to support that person. That person's going to be a female, and she's a firefighter and a first responder, and it's going to be a great deal. It would not have worked if we didn't have that person. So back to the monitoring, we're monitoring all the time for certain, maybe a trainer, to give a person a dog and then walk away. That's just wrong. You know, we just won't do that.
Right. What does it take to train a dog financially?
We can do it like we've said from the very beginning. This drives some people crazy, but I don't care. We can do a dog for $3,500, $4,000, $5,000 tops. We ran one dog through $1,200 bucks. I mean, that dog, just an incredible, smart 3-year-old female German Shepherd. And I mean, as I've said in big rooms full of veterans, if we could have found a proper keyboard, we would have taught that dog how to play the piano. I mean, it was just a really smart dog. So it didn't cost us much because of the time, right? It just zipped. Plus, we got the dog for free, so there wasn't an acquisition cost. Isn't that a terrible thing to say, an acquisition cost? There's my business background. There's no transportation costs involved, so it's a low end. But on average, $3,500 to $5,000.
If people wanted to participate, if there's a dog trainer out there that wanted to get involved with your program, a veteran who wanted to reach out, or someone who wanted to donate, how could they get in touch with you?
Yeah, it's very simple. You can donate via the website. Just hit the donate button and go through PayPal.
And what is the website?
Oh, it's Citadel Canine. That's the full words. No space, citadelcanine.com. The other thing is the email. You can send an email to info and then citadelcanine.com. And myself and 2 other people will see that email, and then we just sort out what it's for. If it's for an intake inquiry, like a candidate, or if it's for somebody that's saying, hey, I'd like to help out, a volunteer. We just have a new volunteer at this C.A.V event today, and she's a corrections officer, and she knows all about us, and she wanted to help out. And then the third, of course, is they want to donate. So info@citadelcanine.com is how to get the process started.
Well, thank you for taking some time with me, Brian, to explain a little bit about service dogs so that the average person that watches this program feels a little bit more reassured that when they see a dog that has that vest on that says in training, that they realize that that dog is working and that's its job.
The Sports Camera Store in West Edmonton Mall is your one-stop shop for Drift and GoPro action cameras. We carry Canada's largest selection of action cam accessories, along with video sunglasses, hidden and surveillance cameras, and more. Visit www.sportscamerastore.com or stop into our West Edmonton Mall location, lower level by the bay. Growing communities one idea at a time is Community Futures Grand Prairie and Region, providing business planning, cash flows, market research, and business loans. Visit www.cfofgp.com to see how we can help you.